Hello there everybody and welcome to my new guide about wood and wood types in Dwarf Fortress. This video will explain all the differences between the different wood types and what is the big difference between wood and all the other materials in the game. So let's get started with comparing one wood type with another. So luckily for us, wood is way less complicated than stone or metal would be. Wood is always worth the same amount of money, and the major difference, except for a couple of very special types of wood, the main difference is weight. So wood weighs on average 25, whatever this weight unit here is, and it ranks down to 5 with the lightest wood and up to 62 with the heaviest wood. So there are differences, but apart from that, wood is mostly wood. You can make all the same things with it. So as we see there's a couple of wood types here, like the custard apple, that are really lightweight. And we got, to give you a few examples, stuff like the lychee wood, which is comparatively really heavy, like your 44 versus 18. The lightest wood on the map is the feather wood, which will only grow in good aligned biomes, so it's not that easy to acquire, and the easiest lightest wood to acquire would be papaya, which comes with 6.5 units of weight per unit. Worthwhile to mention are candlenut and kapok and custard apple as the lightest woods, and when we go to the heaviest woods, we have glumprong, which is one evil type of wood, which is quite nasty because being heavy, it also slows down your people in an evil biome where you actually don't want to stand around, and yeah, things can get quite nasty with that. We got blackthorn, which is just a underground tree, tier 3 caverns, hello. And with regular woods on the heavy side, we have olive, which is actually really heavy, with roughly 50 weight units, and lychee, also the next heaviest with 44. So all in all, wood is on average still 5 times lighter than stone and even 15 times lighter than iron. So this is one of the major material qualities of wood. It is extremely lightweight, even the heavier ones. So let's talk about the wood usages, because seriously, comparing, there is not much more to compare except for one really special wood type that I will cover in a minute. So let's talk about what we can do with wood. There are, of course, certain items that we can only make out of wood. Let's cover them really quickly. The bed is the most popular thing that everybody knows about, but the power production, basically the entire power production of this game, is locked behind wood. You cannot make windmills, water mills, and axles and these things without wood. So wood is really essential for your power generation. Also, siege weapons can also be only made with lots and lots of logs. So that's something worth noting. But beyond that, well, let's go over the usages. You can, of course, make the obvious things, construct your containers out of wood because wood is fairly lightweight, but try to be smarter than me. Like, for example, I made a lot of containers here also out of lychee wood, which is actually not that smart since I have even custard apple, which is really lightweight. So when you're working with that, you might want to configure your work orders accordingly, because there's somebody processing wood, I think up here. Yeah, if you go for the magnifying glass, you can tell them what type of wood they shall use, and that can be really important, especially if you want to follow a certain color scheme. But for example, bins made out of lightweight woods exclusively is a pretty good thing. But we're going to go way deeper than that. There is a use for lightweight wood that honestly surprised me, and maybe it'll surprise you as well, and that's flooring. If we make a flooring out of lightweight wood, the odd thing, when the game calculates a collision, that means when somebody falls on something, the weight of the item he falls upon is calculated into the damage. What does that mean? Well, if you make a flooring out of featherwood, papaya, or something lightweight, even custard apple already helps, they will suffer less damage. You can use that as kind of a cushion to mitigate the fall for your own people. That's something I didn't see coming, but it's really something that you can use lightweight woods for. And on the other side, heavyweight wood, well, since it's not that heavy as stone, for example, it's always going to be the worst counterpart. But if you really want to make something out of your heavy woods like glumprong and bloodthorn and olive, you can make heavy trap parts out of that, like spiked bolts and the like. They do at least more damage than the other wood items, but generally, heavyweight wood is less useful than lightweight wood, at least in my understanding. Let me know in the comments if you know something you make out of heavyweight wood exclusively, which I didn't come up with. I'd be really, really curious about that. So let's go over the rest of the usages of wood. So when we create weaponry out of wood, that's generally a pretty bad idea. Weapons made out of wood, you can tell your carpenter to do so. So you have all the items here, can tell them to make training weapons, but as the name already implies, the damage is horrible. But wood is okay for the production of shields because you can block with a wooden shield, with a metal shield. Block is block. Ironically enough, you can even block off a wave of dragonfire with a wooden shield without it burning to a crisp. But wood is much less durable than metal, so it'll break faster. In theory, you could have a wooden shield that is easier to maneuver with, but it'll break more often. So that's one thing worth mentioning. But where wood really shines is at the bowyer's place to make crossbows out of it. While a wooden crossbow is still a horrible melee weapon, but let's be honest, a iron crossbow is still a horrible melee weapon. The benefit out of that is your dwarves will carry a much lower weight weapon and therefore will be moving faster. So wood crossbows are totally okay, since the damage of the crossbow's projectile is determined by the projectile and not by the crossbow. Which leads us to the next thing. Wood is really good for training ammo. Wooden bolts, you can make 25 bolts out of one log. That's quite a lot, but just keep in mind it is like crappy ammo, so it's good for training or for hunting if you don't want to hunt any dangerous game. But basically everything that's armored, you shouldn't bother with wooden ammo, so really go for something heavyweight, powerful. And here again, a heavyweight bolt is better than a lightweight bolt, so you might use that also. For example, here the heavyweight woods here, lychee or something like that. So, apart from that, there is one last thing that I want to mention in this video, which really surprised me, but it's a pretty cool thing. So, building destroying entities. If we had 3 doors here, and one of these would be made out of wood, the building destroying entity will go for the easiest destroyable item, which is in this case wood. So basically that means with wooden furniture and doors and the like, you can create a trap tunnel that specifically should lure building destroying entities to their doom. With a bit of ingenuity, you can use that to your own advantage, because that's pretty cool. So let's talk about one last thing that I don't want to miss out, and that's the special wood. The only really special wood that I found on this list is nethercap. Nethercap grows in the lowest layers of the caverns, tier 3, and it's of a blue color. And I should probably mention that all the underground trees that grow down here, they don't have any other characteristics except for nethercap, besides from being colorful. So underground woods are more colorful, whereas all the wood that grows above the ground is mostly the same-ish color, with variations of brown, of course. So back to nethercap. Nethercap's specialty, it's a dark blue one. I haven't acquired any in this run yet. It is a wood that stays constantly cool. Anything inside a vessel out of nethercap is held constantly at 0 degrees Celsius. The interesting thing about that is, that means with a vessel of nethercap, you can basically, well, nethercap is basically magma safe due to that, because since the inside of a nethercap item is always 0 degrees Celsius, it won't burn. But ironically enough, a item made out of nethercap will still get burned if it's lying on the ground and somebody's spreading fire, or if you drop it into magma, it'll still burn. But if you put something inside it, it's not going to burn. It's weird, okay? But it is just as it is. In that regard, nether cap is really special. And I have I I've been not quite honest. There's one more special wood which is so special that we cannot even find it on our own maps, and that's grown wood. If you ever hear the term of grown wood, it's elven wood. That's basically when elves do magic with the trees and convince the tree to grow in the shape of a bed, for example. That would be a grown wood bed. So if you ever see that, that's the only type of wood the elves won't hate you for trading with them, because it's ethically sourced wood, I guess. Don't bother giving them anything that has touched an axe ever. Okay, so that sums it up. I don't have more to say about wood. Maybe you do have a couple of things in your mind that I didn't fetch up in my search. So feel free to leave me a comment about that. Also, consider leaving a thumbs up on that video. It makes it visible for everybody else, and I'd appreciate, as would everybody else, I guess. And feel free to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. There's daily content coming up from my side, and there's also a playlist link down there, which leads you to all the other tutorials that I've made. And a big shout out to the supporters of this channel. I deeply appreciate. And there are a couple of links down there leading to Patreon, PayPal, and Buy Me a Coffee. And I'd be really delighted if you give them a look. And if not, don't worry, you're watching this video until the very end. That's also a really cool way of supporting that doesn't cost you anything except a little bit of your time, which I'm extremely grateful for. So, hope you have a good one, and see you soon. Bye-bye.